Hey there, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Conversations with Christal. This is episode number 14, and I am truly honored to have a very special guest on with me. Lesley Pyle is here from HireMyMom.com. Hey, Lesley, how are you?
Hi, Christal. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm so happy that you're here because you have such a um, you really have the founding, what I believe is the founding resource for many virtual assistants out there and just the umbrella of the virtual assistant industry. And
Mhm.
so I'm really excited to have you here because let me not get ahead of myself, but I just know how valuable your service is. So I just love for you to take a moment and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your service.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. So, as you said, I am the founder of Hire My Mom, and I started it back in 2007. So, we're going on 14 years now.
Wow.
And my first website I started back in 1996. And
I
that
love
was
that.
when the internet was brand spanking new to me, at least.
Yeah.
And so at that time, I had just had a baby at the end of 1994 and decided at that point that I could not, I shouldn't say did not, I could not return to work. It just did not
Mhm.
sit well with my mama's heart. And
Yeah.
so I had to figure out what am I going to do because I couldn't just be a stay-at-home mom at that point because we were new. I had just finished my master's degree, had
Okay.
college loans. We had
Yes.
just bought our first home, so we were depending on two salaries.
Yes.
So I talked to my husband. I'm like, how can we make this work? Because I cried every day when I went back to
Mhm.
work. And
Mhm.
I was like, I've got to figure out a way. And my employer at the time, this was in the 90s, wasn't open to any kind of flex work or work from home. It just wasn't something people did really back then. And
Yes.
so I just was like, okay, what about just jumping ship and trying to start my own thing from home?
Mhm.
And so I did. I started doing freelance, started trying to get freelance clients. And
Yes.
my background was in PR and marketing and
Okay.
back then it was called desktop publishing, creating design on the
Yes.
computer and all of that. So
Uh-huh.
I hit the ground running and, was so motivated and so determined to make it work because I wanted to be able to be at home. So it
Yeah.
was tough though. I mean, everybody who's ever started a business, when you're trying to get clients in the beginning, it's hard because you don't know where to find them. You don't really know what your niche is going to be, especially when you
Yes.
just jump in feet first, like I did. Didn't really have a time to plan it out or anything. I just one day decided I was going to do it.
And you know what,
So,
Lesley? I sorry to interrupt, but I want to stay on that for a little bit because when you put yourself out there and like you say, in a time where people weren't necessarily open to even, like online business because the internet was new and that type of thing, and
mhm,
having employers who were definitely not open to it. Like, how
right.
did you get those first clients? What were some of the things that you did?
You know what? I called everybody that I could think of that either might need those types of services
Yeah.
or might know someone like small business owners. And again,
Hmm.
this was before, Facebook or anything like that. So it
Right.
wasn't like I could go online and market myself really. So, the phone was my friend. And so I
Hmm.
used the phone and tried to make some connections. I even looked at that time, you could look in the newspaper
Yeah.
for, different companies. And so I would just do a lot of cold calling, which is so not my
Okay.
personality because I don't like rejection. Who does?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I was just really determined to make it work. And it paid off
Hmm.
because I was able to get some clients. One of them were one off clients where they just needed a logo developed or something.
Hmm.
But then I was able to get one of my first clients that was a regular client was an association for accountants. So I did their monthly newsletter and did some
Nice.
other things like that. So slowly got my business up and running.
Yeah.
But before we could even do that, to make it work, we had to cut our budget because we were going from us, I wasn't making a ton of money. It was my first job, but
Right.
it was enough that I had to figure out what are we going to cut out because we don't have this
Mhm.
salary. And so we sold one of our cars, so we became a one
Mm.
car family.
Yeah.
Cut out cable TV. um what else did we cut? Oh, we started eating ramen noodles because we were used to that. We put ourselves through
Through
college, so we
college,
knew what.
yeah.
Yes. So we just did everything we could, clipped coupons like
Yeah.
crazy. And you know what? I don't regret a moment of it because
Mhm.
you when you have motivation and determination, you will do whatever it takes to make that work. And so that's what I
Yeah.
did in the early days. Which I said all that to say that's what led me to start my first website, because I saw, okay, I cannot be the only mom out there trying to juggle
Right.
an infant and starting a business and finding clients and invoicing and all these things that
Mhm.
I wasn't familiar with at the time. So I started looking for a group. And when I didn't find one, I thought, that light bulb moment went off. And I thought, what if I started some kind of online group for moms who work at home or want to work at home, as
Right.
kind of connection for us all to come together and learn from each other and support each other and network. So that's where my first website, it was called Home Based Working Moms. And I
Okay.
basically ran it like an association. So people would pay, monthly or yearly dues. They'd get a monthly
Yes.
newsletter. We had online forums because we didn't have Facebook or anything. So
Uh-huh.
that slowly led me to a point where I was like, okay, the market I think is ready now for some way to connect moms who want to work from home with small businesses who want to hire them.
Yes.
Ta-da!
Yes.
Hire My Mom was born.
HireMyMom.com. And I
Yeah.
love your story so much because even though you got your start in a time where we don't have all of the, access to the technology that we
Mhm.
have today, I feel like the way that you put yourself out there, and like you said, that you were determined and motivated to make this
Mhm.
work, like some of the things that you did, I don't want that to be lost on anyone because yeah, we have access, through online, but it doesn't hurt to make those phone calls, especially if you have a
Mhm.
network, right, of some
Right.
of people who are maybe even in your local area who you think could
Mhm.
help you be that first, they could be your first client or what have you. So
Mhm.
don't be afraid to do some of those things like those phone calls, or once
Mhm.
at the time of this recording, we are still in a pandemic, but once we're out of it, and can start moving back to in-person meetings and that type of thing,
Mhm.
don't be afraid to do that. And I'm just so happy you shared that. And the budget, right? Cutting
Yes.
back on budget. So if you're in a
Mhm.
position right now where you want to start your business, and it you and if you're, have a partner or a spouse, figure out a way to make that one income work. Like Lesley was
Mhm.
saying, her and her husband, they sold their car, they just made it work.
Right.
And like she was saying, she doesn't regret it because look where she is now. But I
Mhm.
just really wanted to go back and make sure that her story just wasn't lost on anyone, on like the steps that you took to get here,
Mhm.
because yeah, those are big deals and or big steps to take, and you can still do those types of things now. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
So for those who may be new to hearing Hire My Mom dot, well, sometimes I say HireMyMom.com, but is it just Hire My Mom, or do I
It
say
can
the
be,
dot com?
you don't have to say the .com.
Okay. So tell us a little bit exactly about your service, because I almost want to call it a matchmaking service
Mhm.
in a sense, right? When
Right.
it comes to the virtual assistant industry, but you're the best to describe it. So tell us how it works.
And it's funny you should say matchmaking service, because this, when I was, playing with the idea of launching Hire My Mom,
Uh-huh.
that's when I think I was learning about Match.com, and all these
Oh,
online platforms where you could go and meet someone to date. And
yes.
I think that came into my mind, like, what if I could do that, but for moms and small businesses? Not that I
Yeah.
want them to date,
Right.
but
Right.
as a place for them to meet. And that's basically the premise of how this idea
Oh.
was first originated. And we don't actually, just like Match.com doesn't match you with someone, they let
Mhm.
you go in and figure out who you think is the best match. And that's how Hire My Mom works. So
Got
if
it.
you're a job seeker, you would sign up, become a subscriber, and then you can go through every job and you can find your perfect match, or you can find 10
Nice.
perfect matches and apply for as many of those as you would like to. And the same for
Okay.
the businesses. The businesses post a job, but they don't actually get to see the candidates, because we
Okay.
have some people that want their identity hidden from the public. They might have a job that they don't want their employer seeing, or they might just be one of these people that just don't like their identity out on the internet. So
Yes.
for that reason, the only way the employer will know that you applied is if you email them your resume. Otherwise, nobody knows that you're looking for work.
I love that. The confidentiality if you choose to. Yeah.
Right. The only exception to that is we do have our platinum package, which allows you to be a featured candidate on the homepage. So
Got it.
if you want to be featured, you can, but otherwise we have three packages, and the other two, the silver and the gold package, you're
Mhm.
anonymous basically unless you apply for a job.
Got it. Okay. And so that actually kind of leads us into the next question. What can what is the investment to use your services, and like what can ladies expect?
Right. So we have the silver package, which is 1 month, and it's $17.99, $17.99. And then, like I said, you can apply to as many jobs as you want.
Mhm.
Then we have our gold package, which is a 2 month membership, and it's currently $29.99.
Mhm.
And you can have up to 3 resumes with the gold package. So if you have
Okay.
one where you're a VA and another where you do social media, and you have another one that, maybe you're a content writer, whatever
Yeah.
areas, if you have tailored resumes, that allows you to have up to 3. The
Okay.
silver package, only 1 resume. And then our platinum package, you can have unlimited resumes. And like I said, you also are featured on the homepage. You also get our free t-shirt and swag bag. And that
Nice.
one is $69.99 for
Okay.
3 months.
But I think, and I'm glad that you went over those numbers, because I think sometimes people may hear of a service like yours and think that they can't like afford it. Those numbers are very affordable. And when you
Mhm.
think about, entering the marketplace to like start and grow your own business, being able to be in like a situation where you have vetted that these are like real businesses and they're really looking for their next hire. It's really just kind of almost like a really safe place to kind of
Mhm.
get your first start, and maybe your
Right,
first gig, even if it's a one-off.
right.
Obviously many ladies I know are looking for something maybe long term, but
Mhm.
just getting your feet wet, I think it's just such a safe place to do so.
Right. And I
Yeah.
will say some people ask why there's a fee at all. And I'm always happy to answer that. We actually have a link on the sign up page that goes into detail, but just kind of the first two that are really important to know is we don't charge any commissions. So a lot of
Mhm.
hiring websites, you pay a commission once you get hired, like 10% of your
Yes,
income
you
or
do.
20% of your income. So we don't
Yeah.
take any money from you once you're hired. It's all yours. And I
Mm.
think, if you made $2,000, then you would be paying 200 to 400 every month to that platform. And I just didn't feel that was
Mhm.
right. And then the
Yes,
other,
I agree.
yes, the other thing is it limits the competition because some people just refuse to pay, and that's okay.
Right.
They're,
Right.
everybody's got their own, thoughts on that. But when you
Mhm.
go to a place like Indeed, for instance, one of our business owners told us that they had 900 applicants in 24 hours. And,
It's
a small
impossible.
business owner doesn't have time to go through all those. So they
No.
want to use a place like Hire My Mom because that same business owner posted the job with us and had 24 candidates. So it's a lot easier to manage
Yes.
24. And they were high quality, she said.
Yeah.
They were better quality and fewer. It saved her time and it gave those 24 candidates a much better chance of getting hired than if they were one of 900.
That is so true. And I'm really happy you shared that example, and that you're
Mhm.
completely upfront about why it is that you charge. And that is a big distinguisher, that you don't
Mhm.
take commissions, because you're right. Some of those other sites, they do exactly that. Okay. So this kind of leads into my next question of like, what are the top services being hired out right now? Like, what are you seeing?
Yeah, it's so awesome. We're seeing such a variety. There was a time when it was mainly just VAs, virtual administrative type jobs, but
Yes.
now it's really gotten diverse. So, for instance, if you went to the website and you clicked on the new jobs page, you can
Mhm.
see about 50 of the most recent jobs, and they are anything from bookkeeping, marketing, account
Right.
manager, client success manager, customer service,
Yeah.
content specialist, copywriters, let's see, sales,
Mm.
operations, online business manager, social
Wow.
media. So a really, and recruiters, that's another one that we're just starting to get. And the guy that posted a recruiting job with me just emailed me and said, I'm not getting hardly any candidates. Can you help me? And I'm like, it's a good problem to have when we have so many jobs right now that some of the the jobs aren't getting enough applicants.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of flipped. There was a time when we had more applicants than jobs, and now we're getting it's like a hiring boom right now in the remote work world, it seems. So
Yeah.
I told him, I said, one, we haven't had very many recruiting type jobs, but let's
Yeah.
work
That's a
on that
good
because we're
point.
doing Google ads to specific industries to attract more candidates for these jobs.
Yeah, because you're right. That isn't even when I think about, remote jobs, that isn't one that comes up, on the top of
Hmm.
my head, the recruiting, but
Right.
that's a perfect example of, like you said, how diverse things are getting.
Hmm.
And the marketplace, the online marketplace, especially, is just really opening up. Okay,
Yes.
that's exciting.
Hmm.
Okay, so before we leave, I really want, because you have seen, as even as Hire My Mom has like transitioned and grown over the years, I know you have seen a lot in regards to the ladies that you serve and the businesses that come to you. What are some words of wisdom that you can share, primarily with, the moms who are listening, who are maybe
Yes.
thinking about starting their business, or maybe they have a business right now, and but just any words of encouragement or words of wisdom you like to share?
Yes, I do. And I always like to tell people to put your best foot forward when you're applying for these jobs because you want to stand out.
Yeah.
And so the first thing I recommend is to make sure you have an excellent cover letter and resume.
Okay.
And, not only make sure there's no spelling errors, but also add some fun to it. These are small business owners, they're not human resources
Right.
executives usually.
Yeah.
So I like to say, look on Canva or online to get a template and add a little bit of color or add your photo and let people kind of get
Yeah.
a feel of your personality. So they're not just looking at, you know, black and white words on a paper. That's
Yes.
great. But when you stand out a little bit, I think it just gives you a little bit of an edge.
Mhm.
And so, and if that's not your area of expertise, then, we have a service where we can help you with your resume and cover letter, but
Oh,
you really
great.
do want to put your best foot forward. And
Yeah.
I also tell people take initiative. Like if I was going to apply for a job with you, I would go to your website. I would read as much as I could about you, get to know your
Yes.
personality, what you like, what you don't like, or read your blog, just
Yeah.
so that I could then say something about that in my cover letter. Like,
That's
oh,
right.
I saw that, you're a woman of faith. I am
Yeah.
too. I love that to incorporate, my Bible and my faith and my business or whatever it might be, because it
Yeah.
really helps you connect to that person and
Mhm.
again makes you stand out.
Yeah.
Um, the other thing is to be detail oriented because some of these
Okay.
jobs, they will say at the bottom, like your subject line should say, hire me because I am, blah, blah, blah. And if you don't read all the way through it and don't do that, then you're probably automatically rejected.
Leslie,
So,
I love that. And I've used that tactic before, where they
have
had
you?
like a certain, and you know what, it makes it so much easier for the employer because you just weed them out when they don't follow the
Yes,
instructions. Yeah, that's a
right.
good one.
Yes,
Yeah.
because you're looking for someone that's detail oriented and that's going
Yeah.
to do a good job for you. So if
Right.
they automatically, the very first impression they make is one where they did not follow directions, it
Yep.
doesn't look good.
That's
So
right.
yeah, I always recommend read that job description 2 or 3 times, and highlight it if you need to, print it out. Make sure you've checked all the boxes and that you've responded to each of their needs. And if
Mm-hmm.
you don't have 100% of the skills and experience they're looking for, if you're close, maybe you have, 60 or 70% of what they're looking for, I always recommend apply and let them know that you are eager to learn. I don't, let's say you don't know Trello. Say, I've Googled, I've learned, from watching videos, and it looks like something I could catch on to really quickly. I'm a quick learner.
Yeah.
So let them know that even if you don't have every skill or every bit that they're looking for, that you might still be a great candidate for them because sometimes
Yeah.
they're looking for a needle in a haystack. When I read these job descriptions, I'm like, they've got a list of like 100 things they're looking for. And I'm like, they're never going to find someone that has all of those.
Right. And I'm really happy you mentioned that because, and that can be a whole nother topic, but I think with us as women, we do have that, for lack of better words, I'll call it, I'll say we sometimes are challenged by reading a description and we don't match 10 out of 10. Okay, we can't apply. And I
Right.
know for a fact that men look at that situation completely different. They're like, I match four
I
out of
have
10.
one of
I'm
them.
applying.
Yes,
Exactly.
that's right.
So yeah, ladies, I'm really happy you mentioned that. Don't be scared away by not matching every single thing that the employer is
Right.
requesting, or the
Yeah.
not employer. You're not applying for a job, but the person who is looking to hire you as a
Yeah.
freelancer, independent contractor.
Right.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
occasionally we actually do get some that are W-2 employees as well. So,
Oh, you
but for
do?
the most
Okay.
part, yeah, for the most part, they're independent contractor freelance. But like just last week, the Better Business Bureau posted a job for a remote job, W-2 job. I was like, Better Business Bureau, we're getting big time now because that's like, nationwide company. It's
That
not just,
is.
a
Oh
small
my
business owner.
gosh. Oh, wow, Leslie, that's so impressive. I'm really happy
Yeah.
for the service that you're providing and the
Yeah.
reach that you're getting in your business right now. Yeah, having the BBB as a
Yeah.
client.
I know. I was a little bit scared, like, what are they doing? Hopefully,
And
hopefully it's a good review.
right, exactly. And thank you for clarifying that, because I mistakenly was under the impression that it was only independent contractors. So that's good.
Mhm.
It's both. I love
Yes.
that. Yeah. Okay. So this really is. It's such a great place. And I keep saying it, but I really think it's so true. If you're just maybe even you're a little timid about just putting yourself out there, I just really think this is a great, like, safe place to get your first start.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I was going to also add just quickly, on the resume, the cover letter, the interview, we also have a lot of good tips on our blog. So if you want to
Okay.
dive in a little bit deeper on what's your resume, your cover letter, and how to interview, go to our blog and also our YouTube channel. And we have a lot of good content there because we want to help moms succeed and find
Yeah.
jobs. So it does us no good if someone signs up and doesn't get hired.
That's
We
right.
want you to get hired. So we're doing everything we can to help them.
Oh, I love that. Well, Leslie, thank you so much for just being here with us and sharing your wisdom. And again, I just am such a fan of Hire My Mom and what it's doing, in the nation. Really, it really is amazing. So before we leave, and you did mention, the blog and YouTube channel, but make sure our listeners know how they can connect with you and where.
Yeah, absolutely. So, of course, our website, HireMyMom.com. And then we are on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube, and one more. What am I forgetting?
Uh,
All of them are at Hire My Mom. So it's pretty easy to find us. Oh, LinkedIn would be the other one.
Yes. Yes. I was going to say, where else have I connected with you? Yeah, LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much again for just being here, and everyone listening. This is such an amazing resource. And so I'll make sure that I have, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening to the podcast, I'll have everything linked in the show notes below. So please take a second just to learn more about how Hire My Mom can just kind of help you. I'm such a fan. I can't say it enough. So Leslie,
Oh,
thank you
thank
again.
you.
All right.
Thank you. It's been such a pleasure.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for listening in. Remember, I believe in you. You got this.